Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Projects with Chaz. How the freak am I going to do that? Today we're going to do an oil change on an older vehicle. I know some of you may have been handed down a vehicle from Grandpa, and you're like, should I go to one of those fast-paced, cheap-ass oil change places that the guy just got out of prison and he's trying to change your oil? I say no, do it yourself. It's pretty simple. Here's some of the things you're going to need. This is a 94 Jeep Cherokee. It takes 6 quarts of oil. So this is a 5-quart pail or jug, and then I just got an additional quart. You're going to need an oil filter wrench. You're going to need an oil filter. You're going to need an oil pan. If you're afraid of getting messy, you're going to need some gloves and some paper towels. And I always make a mess, so you're going to need a piece of cardboard to throw down on your garage floor. And because this Jeep is high enough in the air, I don't need to jack it up and use jack stands. I do have a 2004 Volkswagen Passat that does need to be jacked up. I'll do another episode where I show you how to do that without having the car fall on you and squeeze your head like a watermelon. Let's get this started, but first things first, what you need to do, if you're like me, crack open a home brew. Not only do I do projects, I do brewing. So maybe that'll be another video. I'm gonna pour this beer and then I'm gonna get started and show you what to do. So stay tuned. Alright guys, one of the first things you're gonna need to do after you let your Jeep run for a minute, or your car, whatever you're changing your oil on, let it run for like 5 minutes to warm up the oil. Warm oil will drain quicker and easier. You're gonna wanna pop your hood, figure out how it opens. I'm sure half of you have probably never been under the hood. There's usually a little latch. You got to pop it from the inside. Most of them. Well, newer cars will just spring open, but old school ones have a little rod you got to prop it open with. And then you want to take a look inside, figure out where your oil cap is, and you want to take that off because you need air to flow into the engine when you undo the bolt down below. So air comes in so the oil can suck out. Sort of like in your house when you want to open the window and you want to breeze, you got to open another window so it can come through. Just unscrew the cap. And I'll do a close-up of that in a minute. Show you what's under the hood. This is the dipstick. I'm sure some of you younger fellas have been called a dipstick by some older person before. This is an actual dipstick. So you want to take it out, check your oil. You want to take it out, wipe it, stick it back in, pull it back out, and see where it is. So I'm still in the safe zone, which it says right here. You got to be between these two lines, but it's getting a little low, and it's getting a little weird looking. I'm a little past due. I try to change it every 4,000 miles on this older Jeep and my older Passat. Newer cars can go like 10,000 miles, which is kind of crazy. But my wife's newer car, we take that to the dealer. I let them screw with it, so it's still under warranty. Let's get under the Jeep, pull the plug, drain some oil, and I'll show you how to fill her back up and change the filter. Okay, if you're afraid of getting dirty, you can always just lay down a towel. There we go, a little towel, a ratty towel. Not one of your nice ones that your wife will kick you in the nuts for. And then crawl under here. Now, I've got a shop light. Let me show it to you. Pull this down, in addition to maybe another light, so you guys can see what I'm doing. But I want to give you a bird's eye view. So I need to crawl under and get to the oil pan, which is right there. Okay, I'm nestled in. I have the oil pan. This is my oil pan to catch the oil from the oil pan on the Jeep. Make sure you're not taking oil or fluid out of your transmission pan. That looks a little different than the oil pan. You can use on an older car, you'll know it's the oil pan when you find oil coming out of it. This is a socket, lefty loosey, righty tighty. I've been changing the oil on my Jeep for a long time, so I just put a piece of tape on it so I can easily find it. And Sometimes I'm trying to do this with one hand while I film. It's a little tough. I'm going to hit it with a hammer, a little rubber mallet. There. Get it started until you can start taking it off with your finger. If you want to put on a glove, now would be the time, because you're going to have oil gushing all over the place. Okay, I put on my glove. Paging Dr. Jellyfingers. Alright, so I got this loose, where I can loosen it with my fingers. The oil pan is directly below it. You can see oil starting to come out, and just boom, there you go. Set this aside so you don't lose it, and just let it drain. You want to make sure it drains thoroughly and let it drip for a while, because any loose particles or metal shavings and debris will be the last to come out, and they usually kind of linger in here. And I've got a little secret, which is maybe one of the reasons why this thing's been on the road so long, is after all the oil is out, I take another quart of oil. I've got a spare quart of oil, and I dump about a quarter of it into the engine and let it blast out any debris that might be in here. So when I see clean oil coming out, I know that all the old oil and gibberish is out. And then I put the cap back in. But actually, before I put the cap back in, we got to change the oil filter. So I'll show you how to do that next. All right, while the engine is draining, come back up to the top of the Jeep. Look right over there, or whatever car you're working on. The oil filter can be in different locations. Mine is up here. And you need to take this little wrench, and it's also lefty-loosey. You gotta kind of wiggle this on there. And sometimes I've got one that kind of flexes back and forth because you're getting in a weird spots. So you get that in there, get it around. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not. But you just got to get it started. So let me get this off of here. Lefty-loosey, I got that started with the wrench, and then you just reach in and twist it off with your hand. And now that's why I put cardboard on the ground, because what little oil is in the filter, it's going to start drizzling out. Sometimes you can take these off and go from the bottom. This one, I'm going to try to keep it upright so the oil doesn't drip all over the place, and bring it through the top. There she is, full of oil. And you want to just set this in your oil pan down below that has oil, dirty oil in it that's leaking out of the engine, and flip this upside down and let it drain into that. And then put it back in the box that the new one comes in and throw it in the garbage. Or if you recycle your oil at a recycle place, you can also take filters, which is what I do. Or if you're in China, you can just go ahead and throw it in a river. Okay, when you get the new oil filter out of the box, it's going to have a dry rubber gasket on it. Dip your finger into the dirty oil down below and just smear it around the ring, because you're going to put this new filter on, and you need to have this oily, moist O-ring to make a secure fit when you screw it on. And you don't use the wrench when you put the oil filter back on. You just do it hand tight, and remember, righty tighty. Get it as hard as you can with your hand and no more. Otherwise you can screw this up and then you'll start your engine and oil will gush everywhere. So no wrench. Okay, I'm gonna cram this back down in here, and I'm gonna put it on hand tight. If I can get it in here. All right, I got it on. Find the thread. There. And twist it to the right. There, it should spin freely. You don't want to cross thread it. There. So it's on snug, and I'm gonna try to snug it up as much as I can with my Hercules strength. All right, I'm not gonna go any tighter than that. And that's it. New oil filter. So now I'm going to add a spit hit of oil to this. So 10W30, this is my spare quart. 10W30, you can look it up what the numbers mean. It just means like starting in the cold weather and the viscosity when it's running hot. So this is kind of a middle of the road oil. It's what this Jeep calls for. Some of the newer cars call for the new crazy oil. So I'm going to dump some of this in. Get yourself a funnel, it makes life a lot easier. And I'm going to wait for that oil to drain out of my oil pan, which I hear it. Let's take a look. There. So that fresh oil's blasting the old oil out and maybe any metal shavings or gibberish that's left in the oil pan. And once that gets done dripping, I'll put the screw in, fill it up with oil, and start it. Now's a good time to drink a beer and just hang out, wait for that to quit dripping. Okay, once the dripping is at a slow, teeny drip, you're probably good because that was fresh oil we blasted through there. Get this started, make sure it's not cross-threaded. Grab your ratchet, righty-tighty. Tighten this up. Make sure that you don't over-tighten it because you'll strip the threads and then your screw will shoot out on the road. All of your oil will leave a big skid mark or a big streak down the street like you just took a dump. So I have that pretty tight. I don't want to over-tighten it so it's snug. Don't drop this into your oil pan. Gently slide your oil pan out, and I dump the old oil into my oil containers that I empty from the fresh oil. So you can put a funnel into those empty containers and dump this into it. We'll put some oil in the oil pan from up top, and then we'll start it up and see what's going on. Okay, we know the engine takes 6 quarts of oil because that's what the manual says. So I have 5 quarts and 1 quart. So I put a funnel into the hole, and I won't bore you with pouring this in, but you want to do it slow. And after I put in 6 quarts of oil, I will pull the dipstick and make sure that we're good. Actually, after I put this in, I'm going to take a peek down below and make sure this just isn't running all over the floor, which has happened before. You also want to check your oil filter, make sure your oil isn't gushing out of that after you start your car. All right, while this last quart is draining, I want to show you a tip that I do. Take your oil filter and rip the lid off. Rip the lid off and keep this on your shelf, so when you go to the parts store, you're like, hey, what filter do I need? Ah, this one, 51085. I do that with all my vehicles. You can take your old box, put a paper towel in the bottom like that, take the old oil filter and just throw it in there. Now your old oil, use the old container or the container you just used with the new oil, put a funnel in it, put some cardboard down, and carefully pour that in there, and then put the cap on it. And then when you get around to recycling, you can take it and drop it off. Some parts stores will let you recycle oil. There's a place here in town that I take my crap to, and I just drop it off. It costs like $5 and I can drop off all sorts of crazy shit. So let's put the cap in here and start the car and make sure I don't have any leaks out of the oil filter or down below out of the oil pan. All right, I'm gonna start the Jeep. nothing gushing out of the oil filter. Make sure you don't catch yourself in the fan belt, otherwise it'll rip your head off. And let's look below. That's why I use cardboard, because it makes quite a mess. I got nothing out of the oil pan. I think we're good. Another good idea is to get some stickers. I got these free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'm not promoting them, but I'm just letting you know where I got them. You can rip off a sticker, take a black marker, right when you want to change your oil next. I do mine by mileage. Another 4,000 miles, I'm going to write what that mileage is, and then I can just look at it and know when I need to change my oil. Boom! All right, we successfully changed the oil in this 1994 Jeep Cherokee. So if you have an older vehicle, need to change your oil, now you know how to. I'm going to celebrate that we changed the oil successfully and I didn't die by cracking this beer. So if this helped you out, you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you next project. Thanks for watching.